I'm just gonna go to the beach and be consumed by the ocean because we are lovers and our relationship is very much so exclusive. Yes, he is a very, very demanding lover, and he requires my full and wholehearted investment into him. And I remember the day he proposed and confessed his love to me. It was like so surprising, okay? Just kidding, I knew. I fall deeper and deeper and deeper in love with him as each moment passes because I realize that he is just the most sincere reflection of the infinite potential that is stored within all of creation and nature. And I just really appreciate him for being the ocean he is. Okay, I'm gonna stop bragging about my love life, okay? I'm trying to make this cover comfy, okay? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop being goofy. Okay, maybe a little bit goofy. Just not crazy goofy. Crazy goofy! Oh, right. Okay, I have bed hair and I like it like that. I feel like a rock star. Okay, let's get into the questions, okay? The very first question is, what brings you joy? What brings me joy the most is doing my tarot readings in the morning and starting my day on just a really beautiful note. What also brings me joy is my baths, because I do tarot readings while I'm in a bath too. And I do a lot of prayer and just practicing a lot of stillness, and those moments bring me the most joy, where I'm able to just connect with my most inner self. Describe a place where you felt happiest. Immediately my brain is like metaphorical place or like literal place. I guess a physical place that I felt extremely happy was Los Angeles, actually. And I'm this little East Coast baby going all the way to California for the first time. Like, I'm not even being goofy right now. I'm being like serious, even though I'm laughing. It literally felt like the trees and just nature and the entire like city of LA, like the spirit of LA was saying like, oh my gosh, finally, like you're here. It felt like a part of my soul was the city, you know? And that's so weird because I literally was born in Washington, D.C. I had lived in Maryland for my entire childhood, and then when I got a little bit older, when I reached like teenager years, then I moved to Virginia. And either way, that's still all the East Coast. So it was just amazing for me to feel welcomed, you know, like I felt welcomed and I felt like it was home. I felt like my heart had found a home. And I haven't been back to Los Angeles since that moment. Like, that's the memory that I have of LA. And it's so funny because like I always hear about people talk so shitty about LA, but I felt like I found my soulmate in city form. Like, so yeah, I felt extreme happiness, so happy. And it was like happiness that I didn't consent, if I'm being honest. But I'm grateful. So one day I'll be back to LA and we'll get to be lovers again. What was your greatest fear and how did you conquer it? My greatest fear at one point was, I want to say, falling in love with the wrong guy. If I'm being honest, like, I think it was really falling in love with the wrong guy. How did I conquer it? I think I began to fall in love with the fact that I was in love. as opposed to focusing so much on the connection, you know, and like the relationship itself, but really allowing my heart to teach me who I am as a lover. And I think that that prevented me from fear of giving my love to the wrong person, because I think that they will take it, or they'll be taking something from me, or that I'll lose something, or you know, any of that. But just understanding that my love is infinite and that I can give it to anyone and I'll still have enough to love the whole world. If you were granted a wish, what would you wish for and why? Like, my immediate answer is to say oneness and unity between all of creation. That's what I would wish for. Yeah. What kind of day are you having and why? If I'm being honest, I'm having a very evolutionary day. I'm discovering like depths in my understanding and perception of who I am as a lover. Genuinely, all of my days are about love, really, because that's the self that I'm discovering just in this lifetime. But today, I really learned a lot, okay? And so I've been kind of on this roller coaster ride, but not in a way where things are happening and I want to like put them to a cease, but kind of like things are happening and I'm feeling the thrill, you know? I'm feeling the butterflies and I'm feeling myself go up, and I'm feeling myself be like jolted this way and going upside down, and not really fighting the process, but just realizing like, whoa, life is really unpredictable. So that's how my day is going, you know? But the thing is that I love roller coasters, so it doesn't really bother me when life starts taking all crazy turns and stuff. I'm just like, yep, let's keep going. Show me what you got. The next one says, what do you consider to be a culture and how do you feel about it? Well, let's define culture, right? I believe culture is a technique that is used to creatively express the self and its thought patterns and its emotions and its personality. I believe that's culture. But the technique, right, it is, I think what makes it culture really is that the technique is used by multiple selves, multiple individuals who maybe share like a similar background, share a similar experience of reality that relates to the self, like skin color, like interests, you know, they have similar talents, similar ways of thinking, those type of things, and they all kind of conform to a singular technique of creating the self, like a singular technique of living that creates like a lifestyle almost, in a way. Like, that's culture to me. What do I consider to be my culture? I think where I stand on culture is that I believe it works for some people, and some people need culture in order to feel connected to the world that they live. But then there's people like me who I feel like I don't have a culture necessarily. Like, I understand that I could belong to a culture because of who I am and what I've been through in my life, but I think ultimately the way that my beliefs are set up and the way that I express myself doesn't require or really allow me to conform to a culture, but to just accept that again, I could belong to any culture ultimately. If I allow my heart to be open and my mind to be open enough, I could adapt to any lifestyle or technique of living if I choose. How do I feel about it? I feel like people should explore whatever culture they feel is natural to them and not just conform to the lifestyle and the ways of living and the self-expression that has been taught to you your entire life. And also, if you don't want a culture, then you don't have to have one. You could just be who you are and create your own. And that's kind of where I am, that kind of be who you are, create your own type of vibe. Okay, next question. What are your views on religion? I think religion is a very idealistic concept. Like, ideally, religion would be a concept that could make reality perfect. It could make the world perfect. It could achieve everything. But where the dysfunction and the concept of religion comes from is when everyone has discriminating beliefs about another person's practice of their religion. And I think there is a lot of disharmony in the world because of this concept of religion, of there being a God, right? And there being this sort of standard of morals that are intended to be kept up by society. If I had to define my religion, right, I would say it's Daoism or Taoism. Just depends on who you are, the way you pronounce it. But I intentionally say Daoism because that just is what comes off naturally. But ultimately, practicing that religion doesn't require me to conform to any god necessarily, or to live in any particular universe. I can live in all potential worlds in every potential universe and just explore it and just see all that is possible for who I am to become, to experience, to explore. And so I think when it comes to religion, I feel like people should do what they want. People should believe in what they want. And I think one of my favorite kind of core values, my like core affirmations, is pass no judgment, determine no moral. So I don't like to say whether anyone is wrong or right or good or bad, or if anything is or isn't, because I don't need anyone doing that to me. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think religion, like I said, I think it's very idealistic, but at the same time, there is the potential that it could create the end of the world. So do what you please. The next question is, do you have a philosophy on life? If so, what is it? If not, what is your method for making important decisions? My method for making important decisions: pass no judgment, determine no moral. Like, you know, and that's the thing, is that I realize that a lot of people don't ever discover who they can be, and I feel like a lot of people don't ever truly fall in love with who they are and fall in love with their truth. A lot of people don't discover their most inner self because we are taught that we must maintain the person we are in our relationships, in our careers, in our memories, in our day-to-day lives, that we have some kind of responsibility to sustain this particular version of ourselves that people are familiar with and that people know. And so sometimes when it comes down to making important decisions in our life, we get stuck between the version of us that people know and choosing what's for our highest good, even if it may contradict, right, what people know about us. I think sometimes we are afraid of losing that familiarity that some people call love. It's a feeling of being familiar, you know, having that knowledge of someone or people having knowledge of you that they can refer to and feel comfortable with and feel familiar with. But when you start to make decisions, right, that are greater, different, unique, that are transformative in your life, that feeling of familiarity begins to go away. And I like to remind myself that I'm not responsible for maintaining a person's awareness of who I am and keeping them up to date with the knowledge of who I am, because I have to pay attention and I have to focus on having that knowledge and having that awareness myself. And if they just so happen to discover more, right, and if they're willing to know, okay, the person that I become, then that's beautiful. But I'm not going to limit and prohibit and restrict myself from expressing my most high potential and making decisions that are out of my own comfort zone because I'm afraid of someone not knowing me anymore. I have to know myself. At the end of the day, self-knowledge is the only basis for gaining power. And how much you allow yourself to step outside of what it is that you know about who you are, that encourages the discovery of your most inner truths, because if you're continuously going your entire life making decisions based on who you are to people, right? And you say, oh, I can't do that because XYZ, or, there's this concept of loyalty that I think really, really is a crutch on human growth and development, because I think people really put themselves in a box because they're afraid of becoming someone that the people they love don't know anymore. And I just say, what's the point of loving them if you aren't going to allow yourself to discover who you are to the deepest capacity and allow that to be who they know, right? If you aren't willing to risk losing that familiarity in your life, then how will you ever know that the person that you're being in these relationships is really who you are? In what areas are you optimistic? And in what areas are you pessimistic? We're gonna get into this. We're gonna really get into this, okay? Areas that I am optimistic. I'm optimistic about true love, like being a real thing and eventually being like something that all come to discover is obtainable, no matter who you are or where you are in your life. I'm optimistic about self-harm rates decreasing, like as more and more generations of human beings are born, that they will become less self-destructive. I'm optimistic about that. When it comes to pessimistic, I don't think any of which is experienced in society or is really trying to be achieved by society today will ever create a better world. I think it will just sustain this kind of dystopian space and time forever. I think all of the problems that people come to discover about the world are the reason that the problems exist. And I don't think trying to solve those problems in the world, like injustice, inequality, all of the darkness in the world, I don't think as a society, like collectively banding together to bring these things to an end helps at all. I think it makes things worse. That's my pessimism. I'm gonna be honest about that, okay? I think the only work we need to do to save the world is internal. And I don't think you can do anything to save the world at all. The only thing you can do is be the most truthful version of who you are. And a lot of people think that they know what that is. And I'm not even saying I know what the most truthful version of myself is, but that's the whole point. The truth is revealed. It has a voice of its own, and you have to allow yourself to speak your truth. And that's the only way that like you can help anybody. And then on top of that, once you speak your truth, you have to sit there and reflect on that and figure out who you are, because this truth that you're speaking will be like a process of discovery. I think obtaining every ounce of understanding about yourself is the only way anything in this world will ever change. People don't know who they are. They're too busy trying to fix the world and make it better. But how can you do that if you're not even being the most truthful version of yourself in the world? You know? And that is a 24/7 process. That if you're genuinely living in your truth, you wouldn't even have time to try to save the world or to try to fix any problems or find any problems, because you would be living in your truth and you would be happy. And the darkness in the world, you would come to understand, is only a reflection of A, the light, and B, the amount of people who do not know their truth. And you would stop feeding into that and recycle your energy into something much higher. What is a mistake people often make about you? Well, people think my age is always something that people are confused about for some reason. People always think I'm either much older than I am or much younger than I am. I'm 20 years old. So there's that. But I used to always hear that people would think like that they thought I was gonna be stuck up. That when they saw me, I guess my face and like who I am, my like, I guess my presence, I don't know, made them feel like I thought I was better than everyone. And I'm just like, how do you get that? Like, I haven't even said anything. How? I also sometimes can have a very like resting face when I'm like in my own world and I'm zoned out from the external. But I guess there's this kind of stigma about pretty girls that like they think that they're better than everyone. I don't know. That's really interesting though. And the funny thing about it is that I don't even like really have conversations with people before they start assuming God knows what about me. Like, I mean, if you just ask, and I'll tell you. What's something you disagree with about the way you were raised? You know, it's very interesting because I didn't realize it until I literally like this year, like just a few weeks ago, in my self-discovery process. And I was realizing that I was literally born of two parents who practiced two completely different religions and ways of life. And so I always had to kind of deal with this duality, you know, because I believe that every decision about who you are, especially when you're like born and you're transitioning into the earthly realm, okay, as a baby, and there's a lot of decisions that are made that when you are born, you are gonna have to identify with whatever people decided would be who you are, you know. And it's really interesting because the duality is so evident in my life sometimes, especially when I was younger, having a name like Amina, which is Arabic, but I know it to have an Islamic meaning, you know, to me. And then being put inside of a Catholic school and going home and seeing my father pray you know, and he's practicing Islam and then go to school and be in a Catholic church, and it was just chaotic, man. It's like a literal mental duality that's going on there, and it creates a lot of false interpretations of what is and what isn't God. So that's just one thing, you know. But you know, I can't do anything about that. You know, if they were lovers and they found love and I was created, then okay, whatever, sure. Great. Describe your dream job, man, and house. You know, I really don't live in the times. I'm just being honest. Like, I live somewhere outside of the black box that is our universe. Like, I live on the outside of the black box, so I'm not experiencing the same timeline of reality or the same course of events that the world is experiencing. Really, my values are different, my goals are different, but I mean, that's for everyone. But I know for sure for me, I'm not living in the times. Because if I could say my dream job, it would literally be either, listen, okay? Well, no, I'm not gonna say either, it's both, but like, you know, one is the evolution of the other. So right now my dream job would be being a wife, and then the evolved version of that is being a mother. But again, those are kind of simultaneous, because motherhood is something that I feel like I have already been introduced to through my self-discovery process. I've learned what it means to have a sense of motherhood within my own experience of who I am and loving myself. But right now, like I said, kind of being a wife, because I don't know, to me it just it seems like a full-time job, like taking like not even just taking care of yourself while you're married, but I feel like taking like that self is extended. Like, you literally gain another self and you become two. Like, so I don't understand how people have the ability to like do and like be a wife and also have a career. Like, I'm applauding you. Like, that is freaking amazing, because to my understanding and my perception of like how I would see my life as a wife, there's no way I could have a career or have anything else other than the marriage, okay, that I literally am mothering into existence. I don't get it. For me, I just see literally marriage as an entire career path within itself, because if you're gonna choose to get married, baby, that is gonna take all of your effort, energy, and time. Like, and I'm talking about to have a successful marriage, like a prosperous marriage, a loving marriage, a like healing, a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage. Like, I'm not just talking about something that is like mediocre and is satisfactory. No, I'm talking about exceptional marriage, okay? Like, that is thriving and it's the source of happiness in your life. That's what I'm talking about. That by itself is a career. Like, and that's the whole reason that people make careers. And you know, it's so interesting, because I'm really gonna go on a spill right now, okay? Because I'm really thinking about it. Like, because I remember like last year when I had turned 19, and I was really thinking, and I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do with my life? Like, I'm getting older, and I understand that I know I don't want to go to college, right? I know that I don't want to be a part of any kind of system, really. And the one dream career that I did have, which was modeling, like fashion modeling, I had come to discover that didn't align with my core values and align with who I wanted to be. It didn't align with my dream of happiness, you know? And then also music, the like career of being a musician and like living that lifestyle. Also, there was just a very large amount of like unfulfillment in all of the career paths that are like present to me, because I just feel like my strengths and my talents and my gifts are intended to be used in an environment that gives them purpose and meaning. And if I'm working a job somewhere, all of my maternal and like the just infinite love and devotion and passion that I have for like literally romance would go to waste. Like, and that's the thing. I think I really had to allow my most high self to just help me find the strength and the power to accept that not every career path shows up in the form of like a traditional job title. That sometimes your skills and your talents and your abilities will put you on paths that literally introduce you to environments where you would be working, like spiritually working, mentally working, emotionally working, and using all of your talents, gifts, skills, and abilities, right, in a way that like brings purpose to your life. I think that's the whole point of this, right? I'm really intended to be a wife, and so I started to really allow myself to see power and value in romance, because it really is one of my passions. So again, it was just like me realizing that who I am is unique and that I have unique needs. My story is unique, my talents are unique, my path is unique, and that I have to allow myself to be unique. So I said all of that to kind of explain like the whole wife thing, because I know a lot of people are like anti-marriage and just anti falling in love, okay, and being with one person for your entire life or being tied down to somebody. But I would rather spend my time really and truthfully getting to know someone and like discovering the depths of our connection and our love than to be living any other dream or any other career. Because for me, I just don't see the point. Like, love to me is the only reason life matters. It's the only reason life exists to me, and I would literally be wasting my time and not living in my truth if I were to have any other career other than being a full-time, wife. That is where I am. All right, I dropped the ball. I revealed all my cookies in my jar, okay? And I used to be so like insecure about that, because I don't really know anyone who is aspiring like at my age to take a path of marriage and like really see it as a career, you know, like see that as something that I'm investing into. Like, this marriage literally becomes damn near like a literal entity that acts like a business. When you invest into it, you literally like gain. And I feel like that's how the universe sees it. It acts literally like a freaking business entity or any other project, right, that you would create and use. as a source of income or a source of vitality, a source of happiness, a source of love, whatever you need, right, from this thing. That's what you invest into it, right? That's why you invest into it. That's why you're choosing it as your career path or whatever. And I just feel like I realized that being a wife is all that I need in my life because it allows all of my talents to reach their full potential. I remember I was journaling and I have reached this moment that perfectly is the perfect explanation for why I think being a wife is my ideal career path, because it was like, okay, listen, this is how my most high self broke it down to me. This is how the universe put all the cards on the table and was just like, boom. So it's like there are infinite potentials in the universe throughout space and time. There are infinite potentials, okay? And let's say I have a husband, right? So we're married, okay? In every single one of these potentials across space and time. And within those potentials is the possibility that our marriage is thriving, healthy, and successful, and B, that our love is true. And in order for me, I feel like as a woman who is seeing this as my path in life, I have to understand that the purpose, right, is to make all of those possibilities within those potentials where we are married, make them all real, a reality, right? In every single moment of our lives, we are true lovers. In every single moment of our lives, we are investing, or at least I am investing all that I can, okay, into this. Because I think love means that much. Why? For me, I'm just like, why be alive if I'm not gonna love to death? I don't get it. Describe your dream man. My brain is literally like pounding out the words Shawn Mendes. But what is a Shawn Mendes? Like, let's break that down. Like, what makes him such a dream? Let's see. Well, I guess I'll start where I am, and that is this morning I was guided to go watch one of his interviews. And a year ago when I had watched, I think it was a year ago, when I watched this interview, I felt so detached because I was at a point in my life where I wasn't allowing myself to feel love anymore. And the love that I felt for Shawn was just so consuming that I just was afraid that if I genuinely felt like the love that I felt for him was real, I would probably die. So I turned it off. I was stone cold. Even though I was being guided to look at his interviews and find some kind of sense of hope in my life, I still was just whatever. But then I've evolved so much since then that me watching it this morning, and I was just immediately, every moment that I was experiencing him felt like a reflection, It felt like a reflection of God. That's what it felt like, a reflection of God to me. And I realized that I don't really feel like Shawn, I'm not having or putting any responsibility on him for the feelings that I feel. That's why I just want to make it clear that this is my sort of self-discovery that I'm talking about, and also my dream, because that's what the question said, okay? So I just want to say I'm not putting any responsibility or connection on Shawn for anything that I'm saying. These are all internal and self imposed experiences that I'm having. And so I'm looking at him and my mind is just seeing, like I said, a reflection of a god, because what I have this psychic ability. I don't really know what it's called, but I see soul, like, in people. I don't see bodies necessarily. The bodies are like see-through, and especially with Sean, it's the most transparent. Like, I don't experience any other human being that makes my like psychic sense drastically heighten, and he becomes see-through and I can see his soul. And in the process of experiencing him, there is his soul, right? And this is all happening this morning while I'm watching the interview, and I'm like mind blown, you know. There's his soul, and then there is the manifestation of it, right? Which is like this body that we see of this man. Me just being this 20-year-old woman, right, who has the psychic gift, and I literally lock myself in a room damn near because the gift drives me a little bit insane, because I see soul. Like I said, like, it doesn't just happen with Sean, it happens with everyone and everything. But with Sean, and really there's no like medium or channel that my gift is limited to. It happens no matter what, through a screen, through a picture, through anything, a window, a freaking human body. It doesn't matter. The world literally acts like a reflection, but it's transparent, and all I see is just like the creator of whatever I'm looking at. And so, like I was saying with Sean, I can see his soul, I can see everyone's, but with him it's different, because I had never experienced like a perception of a man so aligned with my understanding of who I am as a woman. And it's interesting because I only really have these revelations when I'm watching Sean. I'm like listening to his interviews, and it's really interesting because my only real outlet to talk is my YouTube channel, because you know, the camera is my friend, really. My therapist. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, I really only have these like massive psychic visions and revelations and like awakenings when I'm watching Sean, or I'm guided to watch him. It's always guided. Like, I always see like an intangible image of him when I'm doing something, and then like that'll be guidance that'll lead me to physically go and look at that thing. And this morning it was his interview, like I was saying, but I was seeing his soul, and then realizing that what I was looking at was the materialization of what his soul believes a man looks like. Like, what his soul believes a man's voice would sound like, what his eyes would look like, how his personality would be, what his ego would be, what he is. And so it really put me in this space of like seeing God differently, because I was able to then apply that to my entire life in all things that I experience, and kind of realize that everything is sort of what the soul perceives is love. And then I started realizing that every being that has a physical form like that is what their God, right, their creator, is actively manifesting as the personification of love. And it changed everything. My mind was like, I was just sitting there like in awe. And I have a lot of these moments, but by myself. And I kind of have to like glue my mind back together after it being blown. And what really gets me is that I really only have like these kind of major like out of body experiences when I'm being guided to like experience Sean as an artist, as a human, as a self, as a creation. And then I end up learning about who I am, like my depth of understanding of my own soul goes so like it's infinite, seriously. And I'm like, how does he do that? And then I realized it's not him, it's his soul showing me these things. I only see what a person's soul allows me to see. And a lot of the times that will be their truest colors, you know, their truest identity. That's what I see. And that person can really give me an experience of them that either shows me that they're not living in their truth and that they don't really they're not really in touch with their most inner self, or that they're fully and wholeheartedly like present. And with Sean, the experience that I always get is like some kind of discovery about my worth, always. And I'm like, it's always taken from me. You know, I experience a lot of humans, you know, and I experience a lot of souls that my day that drastically alter my perception and my understanding of life. But with his, it's always kind of a surrender, because it's like I become a spectator in my own self-discovery process. Like his soul takes control over what it is I'm discovering as I experience the self of him, and I gain knowledge about me and my worth. And I just remember looking like, oh my gosh, I'm literally seeing like a God create what he believes he would look like as a man, what his voice would sound like as a man, what his values would be as a man. And just realizing that like at every single second, we are all beautifully and perfectly, intelligently created. And that there's no other moment other than the present moment that you can experience someone's true beauty, that you can experience so much truth, that you can experience the highest version of them, because every moment that they're alive and they're breathing, that is what their creator believes love is. And then just realizing that, oh my gosh, at every moment, no matter what or who I'm experiencing, what I'm perceiving is literally their soul's perception of love. And I was just like, whoa. And it really changed everything. So yeah. Describe your dream house. I don't really think I would be in control over the design of my house. I think it's a co-creation, my dream house. So I can't really say her and just like say what it is, because I really think that like it would be a co-creation, and I think my co-creator would have a lot to like more of the say on the imagery of the house, you know. And I think I am more of like a character type of thing. So yeah. Who do you trust most? Why? Who do I trust most? My reflection. Really, I do. She is honest in every way. And I legitimately cannot contain her. She is so honest that when I'm looking at her and she's like talking to me, I'm just kind of like, whoa, can't hide the truth even if I tried. That's cool. So yeah, I trust her because she always lets me know the truth. What are your strengths in relationships? You know, it's interesting because I kind of came to this conclusion a while ago. Less of a conclusion, more of like a perception, I guess. But I guess that is a conclusion anyway. So I kind of came to this like realization a while ago that I was made like for giving. You know how there's the word forgiveness and then there's the word forgiving, but like I think when you separate those two words and you have for and you have giving, I literally think I was made like in my relationships to give and have no expectation of receiving. And I think that that's my strength because that's who I am. Like I am made for a relationship that allows me to give and 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 give. And that's the thing, some people don't like giving. Some people don't like to receive like love that is infinite in capacity. Because I don't know, people are different, but I know for me, like my strength is the fact that I can give and have an endless supply of love still available. That's why I'm literally saying like I need to be in a path in my life where I can invest into something that like works for my strengths. And literally in my relationships, I'm made for giving. What do you value most in relationships? I think in my relationships, I was literally gonna say space and time. Like I value a relationship where we both give each other the space and give each other the time to fully and wholeheartedly live, die, and transform as many times and in many ways as possible. That's what I value, okay? That's what I value. That's what I need. Seriously, that's what I value because I realize a lot of relationships aren't made with the intention or lived and experienced with the intention, right, of the connection being able to live, die, and transform in infinite ways and as many times as possible. That's why my sights are so high, like on the kind of life that I desire to live. I feel as though, because when I say I live for love, I live for love. When I say I die for love, I die for love. And when I say I'm transforming for love, I transform. And I'm the kind of person where like I want to be able to like gift someone the space and the time that they need to live, die, and transform into whatever version of their self that they are finding and discovering at this point in their life, you know, and like who that person, like who we were when we met, we can die and as those people, and the love still be immortal, that we can transform our relationship and our connection in order to fit our needs, you know, at different stages of our life, because not every relationship, I feel like no relationship is intended to be linear. So I'm like, how we were as lovers, right, in the beginning may not be who we are now, and we may not be needing each other to play the roles that we once played in the beginning, but now we can alter them, like that kind of thing. I live for forever. Like I'm a forever lover kind of girl, okay? My love, my perception of love is immortal. So I'm ready to break through every possible obstacle and wall that comes in the way of us living forever as lovers. You know what I mean? It's like whatever needs to die, it can die. Whatever needs to be planted, we're gonna plant it and water it. Whatever needs to transform, we can transform. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm like, I am literally like made for the butterfly effect because I'm immortal. I don't die. My love doesn't die. What 5 traits do you value most in potential partners? I feel like forever, you know, somebody who believes in forever, you know, because a lot of people don't have forever as a certainty in their mind. I'm certain, okay? I know forever is exactly the time span at which I desire for my love to last. I don't plan on breaking up, no. Like, I don't like that. It doesn't align with my beliefs. It causes chaos and disharmony in my life. Like, I just know, like, I don't do those things. So potential partners, well, I mean, technically I'm kind of, you know, in a relationship with the ocean, but, you know, we're just talking about hypothetical, okay? Don't tell the ocean I'm talking about this. Hypothetically speaking, it's an all-in kind of thing. Like, you have to be willing to die in love. And you have to be willing to transform in love and live again in love and rediscover in love and reestablish in love and replant and pull roots and break down and kick and go through every single natural disaster while in love, you know. 5 traits, okay, that was 1. 2, I want to say like self-honesty, like someone who's honest with their self. I don't get you being honest to me genuinely doesn't matter. It's about you. Are you honest to yourself when you're thinking? Are you telling yourself the truth? Are you thinking in ways that are realistic to who you are and who you really believe that you are? Or are your thoughts some kind of mask, like a sheet that you're putting over your reflection? You know, like, seriously. That was 2. 3, openness. In a general context, I think. 4, in reality, like, I need someone who is sort of made for love. They're made to be in love. and they're aware of this. They know that they are a lover and that they enjoy being in love and that it is what they need in their life. I don't want someone who isn't sure about whether they want romance or whether they want a future, whether they want, like, no, like someone who is like, yes, I know for a fact that I need to be in a relationship in order to feel sane. And I'm like, oh my God, here I am. Yeah, I feel like, why lie? You know, why lie? If love is what you live for, then fucking die for it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just me. I'm not saying that like, oh, like, people should be codependent, but to an extent, if you understand that you thrive the most, right? And you are loving yourself to the highest capacity and you understand that it helps you to be in a relationship in order for you to know yourself, then why deprive yourself of that? This is what I'm saying, like, being honest, okay? That's 4. 5, someone willing to explore the unknown. Yeah. It must be fearless. Just kidding. At least a curiosity about what life is like when it is lived fearlessly. If you're curious about it, that's it, you know? That's it. You're gonna try it at some point. What 3 important things have you learned from previous relationships? In previous relationships, I learned that it's okay to feel desperate. I really feel like those moments of desperation really bring out some kind of, I want to say, trauma in your life. A version of yourself that was traumatized, that must experience you love them. Like, love who you are when you're desperate for whatever it is that you're asking for, you know, which is 9 times out of 10, love, to be loved. And I know for me, I experienced a lot of desperation because I am a lover. And I know a lot of times in my life where I didn't love, that I was obsessed with love, that I was obsessed with romance, and that I wanted like the perfect relationship, and I wanted things to last forever. And all those moments, you know, where I was desperate for that, and I would do things that would cause me to act in ways that weren't in alignment with like the highest version of me. I've learned to just kind of love everything about who I was in those moments, because she really kind of knew what I needed to give to myself. Even though I was asking another person for it, it brought to the light what I needed to acknowledge within about who I am and what I want and what I'm capable of experiencing, and the decisions that I need to make inside that allow me to figure out my worth, so that I'm no longer asking or desperate for someone to give me love. What else have I learned? I've learned that it's okay for relationships to end with rejection. Like, I think it's okay. I think those are the most freeing moments, really, because I've learned that those people, like, there is a much greater intelligence at work. And I think that rejection is really just like the hidden kind of experience of discovering a much higher truth about what is in alignment with who you are. And I used to cry and cry and cry and cry and cry at all of the times where like people rejected me, you know. And that was how a relationship ended, was that they didn't want to see me anymore. I think I learned resilience, you know, if I'm being honest, because each of those times where I felt like they broke my heart, I realized eventually that the only way my heart would become all powerful is if it went through all that would give it the ability to overcome as many times as needed in order to know that all of the love I have is within. To no longer look outside for it. I think that was 3 things. If it wasn't, then I don't know. How do you show compassion to others? How can you extend that same compassion to yourself? How do I extend compassion to others? No, it says, how do you show compassion to others? Okay. How do I show compassion to others? I dream of unity between all of creation, all humans, right? And that dream of unity that I am consistently like imagining in my head, it really gives me a perspective where I can align my thoughts and opinions about the world that I experience with a greater good. you know, and it allows me to see people at their very most high, even if I may not live the same way as them or experience the same path. It allows me to find a space in my heart to incorporate who they are into the dream I have. And how can I extend that same compassion to myself? I don't just dream of unity with all of creation, but I dream of unity with my creator. And the same process goes. What do you want your children to learn from you? Well, I think about this all the time, really. But I will want my children to learn from me how to be their own world. How to be the world that they want to live in and not live in any other world. And to only bring and define reality as the world that gives them freedom. What does love mean to you? What does love mean to me? I think love is the expression of a greater intelligence. And how do you recognize it in a relationship? I think what we are taught to do is to define the love that we experience by the connection that we feel with another person, as opposed to the purpose of life. And so I think that's what kind of puts us under the impression that love is a recognizable thing or let me rephrase that love can be recognized by the brain. I think it can only be experienced by the brain. And I think that recognition is gifted to the soul. And I don't feel like it is confined into relationships, but like I said, a purpose of life. And so it makes my relation to everything and every moment that I experience a purpose of love, being all that is available to experience. And that's how I like to live my life, okay? Describe yourself using the first 10 words that come to mind. I heard vibration, energy, dream about you, understanding all things are one. Okay. Literally as the words came up, I just said them, and that's what happened. So what do you appreciate most about your personality? What aspects do you find harder to accept? What do I appreciate most about my personality is that I don't really know anyone like myself at all. When I am experiencing myself, I'm always in the mode of learning and being very, very studious because I have no one to compare myself to. So when it comes to my personality, I'm always learning about someone like me. And when I kind of create this almost observant mode of living, when I experience my own personality, it makes it possible that there is someone like me. But I just have to be able to observe myself be, instead of like exerting a particular version of who I am or belief about what my personality should be or who I should be or what I am according to psychologists today. And just really figuring out like what is my personality. That's what I admire most about my personality, is that I'm always allowing it to be redefined. What aspects do you find harder to accept about my personality? Sometimes the fact that there's no one like me, you know. And sometimes I have to go back to that past no judgment, determine no moral, because it prevents me from looking at my personality and saying, oh, that's bad, or that's odd, or this, that, and the other, you know, determining what about me is natural and what is normal, because that can really, really put a hinder on your process of growth and learning about who you are to the greatest capacity. When do you trust yourself the most? When do you find it harder to have faith in your instincts? When do I trust myself the most? When I accept that my life is a step-by-step process, and that every single moment has been divinely crafted for me. Every moment that I experience of myself has been fully and wholeheartedly realized by the most high creator of all life. That's when I trust myself the most. When I know that my steps are guided and that there's really nothing I can do to prevent them from being steps that are taken through the force of my most high self. When do I find it harder to have faith in my instincts? When I start looking at the world. Yeah. And like comparing the guidance that I receive to the world that exists, and realizing that, like I said, I'm living on the outside of the black box, which is the universe. Like, I'm on the outside of it. So I can't look at the time that we're in and try to figure out where I fit. Where do my beliefs fit in? Because they just don't. And I just have to accept that. So then I do. Which emotions do you find hardest to accept? How do you handle these emotions? The ones that I find the hardest to accept, I think I find it the hardest to accept shame, because I don't think it is a natural response. I think it is a human generated idea of morality, of who you should and shouldn't be. You know, it's hard to accept that, because why should I be ashamed? Why should anyone be ashamed? I shouldn't ever, really. No matter what, you know, we're all doing our best to be and to exist peacefully with this life that we are gifted. How do I handle shame? I let go. I take no responsibility for God. I can't be God, so I don't try to. And I don't give anyone else the ability to be my God other than that which is, creating all that I am. What are 3 things that can instantly disrupt a good mood and bring you down? What strategies do you use to counter these effects? I like this question. What can bring my mood down? When people have negative spirits about God and wonder, the wonder of God. You know, when people are completely and wholeheartedly just being ignorant. And people who still live in a mind that isn't aware of the infinite nature of reality, you know. Sometimes that can really bring me down and make me kind of sad and a little bit upset, but like opposed to any other kind of feeling, it gets me in this really, really dark space where I feel like I'm put inside of a hole or something, and it's dark, and if I look up, all I see is this little tiny pinch of sky, because I'm that deep inside of the ground. That's how it makes me feel. And how do I counter that? I close my eyes and I just meditate. Don't matter where I am. I could be sitting in the passenger seat of a car in traffic, and I'll just close my eyes and just like breathe and disappear from the moment so that I become it again and allow it to kind of rejuvenate itself and let go of everything that I was feeling, because ultimately a lot of people really can only express the depth of understanding they have about their nature. What are 3 self-defeating thoughts that show up in your self-talk? How can you reframe them to encourage yourself instead? I don't really have as much self-depreciating thoughts anymore, but when I did experience those kind of thought patterns, it would be thoughts like, I can never be happy in this world because I was brown and that I am a woman. It felt like there was no way, and I genuinely believe these things at some point. Because I am brown, I felt like there was no dream of a God that could bring into fruition a world where I could find a purpose great enough to want to still be alive and have brown skin and have pride in it. It just didn't seem like there was any purpose to that because of this world we live in. It's very dark and self-depreciating, and being a woman, I just felt like was a very, 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 very unfortunate. Being brown and a woman together just felt like hatred. It felt like whoever created me hated me, and that's the way I was thinking at that time, because I felt like I had a lot of power stored inside of me, but I felt like no one could hear me. I felt like I was locked inside of a soundproof glass box, and like I would be screaming my truth and everyone would just look at me and just see me losing my mind because I'm screaming as loud as I can how much Black Lives Matter, how much love matters between all people, how much equality matters, how much justice matters, how much all those things matter. But it felt like no one was listening. So I was just like, maybe it's me, maybe it's what I look like. Definitely, like I'm just worthless on the outside at least, but that is literally just that weighs on the inside. How did I reframe them to encourage myself instead? I stopped screaming. I stopped believing that I had to identify with my brown skin just because I was in it. Literally. And I think that a lot of brown people, like people of color, literally, people who have skin colors that are all different kind of shades, even the most light. It's this program thing where you have to define and identify and have pride in what you look like, and then align your purpose in your life with what you look like and your values with what you look like. It's bullshit. It really is. And it's very, very self-depreciating to determine all of the worth of your soul based on what you look like. I stopped giving worth to what I look like and started looking through myself and seeing who I loved the most, and that was all things. I started seeing within myself the ability to be all, like literally. And I started realizing like my brown skin is just the image of love in a greater mind somewhere. What go-to coping strategies help you get through moments of emotional or physical pain? Go-to coping strategies: breathing and surrender. When you surrender to the pain, oh yeah, baby, you really get to know exactly what is really going on that's causing all of that. When you kind of let the pain almost consume you literally allow it to kind of eat you alive, you know, but not in a way where like you're fighting it and you're like suffering, but it's almost like being one with it, you know, kind of finding a sense of stillness inside of the pain so you can almost observe it, you know, and feel it at the same time, and really get to understand like your power, the power that you have. It's incredible, really, especially with emotional pain. I can't really speak too much to the physical, but I mean, I have experienced some physical kind of moments in my life, and even then I had to learn not to try to fight it away, but to just be still. When it comes to the emotional pain, I experienced that more than anything because I do a lot of crying, but I've learned to just let it happen and to talk myself through the process, because a lot of those emotions are in the form of blockages, thought patterns in your mind that prevented the sort of flow of the energy from happening that is coherent, you know, with the rest of your being. And so I've learned to just cry. List 3 strategies that help you stay present in your daily routines. Then list 3 strategies to help boost mindfulness in your life. Pass no judgment, determine no moral, and have no responsibility for God. When you do those 3 things, I'm telling you, there will be no thing powerful enough to pull your awareness away from the most high experience of all that is happening now, and realizing that all that is happening now is for your most high good, and then allowing yourself to be fully awake. If your release, right, your desire, a tendency to pass judgment, to determine moral standard, and to have responsibility for God, like when you let all those things go, I'm telling you, you will legitimately experience freedom and free will on a completely different kind of like level. Because a lot of those times when we start to pass judgment and we start to determine moral standards and we start to have responsibility for God, right? Those are all of the moments where a lot of our power is being taken, our will to be present in the moment. It's a form of enslavement, really, to contemplate on judgment, your own judgment, to determine your own moral standard, like as you are being gifted with a moment of someone or something, instead of just being awake and aware, you know, and letting go. And if a moment of reflection comes later in your day, then so be it. How do you prioritize self-care? When I put this question on there, I was kind of like, how do you prioritize self-care? You understand that, I understand that the only way I can truly achieve happiness is if I do everything in my power to know myself fully and my needs and my abilities and my truths and what my body feels like inside and outside, what my mind feels like inside and outside, what my heart feels like inside and outside. Yeah. And I'm curious about those things daily, so I take care of it. Give myself answers. What aspects of your life are you most grateful for? That every moment is guided to me, that I only receive the most high impressions about the life I live. What parts of life surprised you the most? What turned out the way you expected it would? What parts surprised me the most? That I would be dealing with, like, having a daily experience of like extrasensory, that I would be guided to finding a sense of self through my psychic abilities. Didn't expect that. What turned out the way I expected it would? Me kind of being isolated, me being a bit of a loner, and being in solitude a lot, mentally and spiritually, and just physically, kind of being and living in my own world. What 3 things would you share with your teenage self? What 3 questions would you want to ask an older version of yourself? What 3 things would you share with what I share with my teenage self? I would say you're exactly where you need to be. I would say trust your intuitive guidance. And I would also tell her that everything you naturally perceive about a person is their truth. That's what I would tell her. And what 3 questions would I want to ask an older version of me? How are you finding purpose in the space you're in? I would ask her what is happening now that is an effect of your true love, and what is the image of your current reflection. Just see what she says. And then last but certainly not least, list 3 important goals. How do they match up to your goals from 5 years ago? 3 important goals. All right, let's let it rip. One of my goals is, I guess, to be married. That's what's coming up, so I'm not gonna fake, okay? That's what my heart wants to say, so say it. Fine. I'll respect and honor her wishes. She wants to be married. My heart. Another goal is seeing myself express the most high understanding only. And the last one, being completely vegan. Yeah, that. Yes. How do they match up to my goals 5 years ago? Is that 5 years ago, my goal was to be Naomi Campbell. Like, I wanted to be walking on every runway and be in all of the highest fashion shows and work with all of the most renowned designers. And I wanted to be a supermodel. My life revolved around that. That's what I wanted to do in my life. And I gave up on that dream, really, because I mean, I explained it a little bit earlier, but really when it came down to it, there was just something about being a model, using my physical body, that just didn't resonate because I don't feel like that reflects or promotes the unity that I genuinely desire, you know, for young girls or just women, men, anyone in general, you know, to like see me be advertised as what a model is, you know, but only through images of me being dolled up and all perfect and all of that, you know. It just didn't align, and I preferred to be a model with my beliefs, you know, to set an example through my voice and the person that I am inside. So yeah, and on that note, okay, this is the end. I had a beautiful time answering and journaling in my video diary and telling all my secrets and all my truths. Goodbye.